Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Monday, time for a fresh new episode of Benchwarmers. I, of course, am Benjamin, and we are recapping the madness that was this last week in sports, especially the Super Bowl. And I know Flashfire's fired up because he just said fuck sports. Whew. Jam 1620, what's going on, brother? Always good to see you. Logan Herrera in the house, one of our big winners from our contest that we had for the Super Bowl. Congratulations, sir. Official Tony, what's going on? Had something in my mouth there. Sorry. Southside Steven Seawright, Sarah V. Sarah V. Yes, we will talk about that later. Um, yeah, there were two winners. Two winners for our Discord contest. Both, of course, are going to be winning the first place prize, therefore negating the second place prize. Sorry for everybody who fell in second place. Technically, yes, two first place winners. David Kearns, what's going on? Let's warm the bench indeed. Did I say official Tony? If I didn't, official Tony. What's going on, brother? Anyway, jerseys. Things are coming in a little bit slower than usual. I was supposed to get a bunch last week. It finally happened. A couple came in, but there's still like two important ones I'm still waiting on, unfortunately. But hopefully they'll arrive later this week and I'll have them for this next Monday. You never know. But anyway, without further ado, this is one I was not even remotely expecting to find. And it's kind of funny because I technically have a blank of this jersey. It's printed on the front, but it's blank on the back. And I was going to send it in to get it, finished with this particular player, whatever. But now I can switch up the number or go with another player who wore this number, which case I want to say, hold on one second. Let me look this up. This is like the one thing I forgot to do is like, who the hell else wore this number for this particular team? And yes, I am trying to build suspense with this. There it is. Uniform numbers. All right, the number is 13. Ooh. Okay, all right, whatever. Anyway, so New York Knicks, obviously you can tell by the trim and color and stuff like that. But number 13, Mr. Mark Jackson, former Indiana Pacer, great former Golden State Warriors head coach, NBA analyst, play-by-play, color commentary, what have you. But yes, Mark Jackson, New York Knicks, is now in the house. And so, like I said, I've got a printed front, no number, no name on the back. So, in regard to number 13, if I want to stick with that, I've got Ed Sherrod, maybe. Anthony Bowie, maybe. Luke Longley. But then again, Luke Longley came in for the Knicks during the time period where they had the black stripes on the side. So technically it wouldn't match up perfectly with this particular era. But hey, I can make exceptions to the rule. Now, anytime that I send it to my friend Marlon up in Seattle and he'll, remove names, numbers, etc. I always try to fill in the spots as much as I possibly can so it doesn't look like I had the names or numbers removed. So the one I've got stuck in my head right now, which would kind of fill out that specific spot pretty perfectly, is actually number 18, which is Phil Jackson. Um, I mentioned this before that I tried to like acquire players that went to random colleges, etc. So the 8, obviously going over the 3 would be pretty easy. But Phil Jackson went to the University of North Dakota, in which case there's only 2 NBA players who have ever come out of the University of North Dakota, Phil Jackson being one of them, Jerome Beasley being the second. But Jerome Beasley didn't come into the league until 2003, to which case he was a member of the Miami Heat. I have yet to find a blank Miami Heat jersey, so I don't think I'm going to be throwing one on Jerome Beasley. So Phil Jackson, you might be suiting back up and get back in the game. But anyway, that's number 1. Number 2, this one is incredibly rare. And this is one I never really expected to find. Some dude up in Canada had hit me up randomly. I think he was asking me if I want to sell like one of my particular jerseys, to which case it didn't fit him. So it's like not a big deal. But then he threw it in there. It's like, hey, do I have any jerseys that you want? And it's like, as a matter of fact, you do. But I was very casual about it. I didn't really emphasize, how much I needed it, how much I wanted it, etc. Because not to say I was trying to get it for cheap, because it wasn't cheap. I threw an offer at him and he immediately accepted it. So I threw the offer in at $200. Now, some of you might find that crazy. I don't, considering the fact that this particular jersey, the cheapest I've seen it go anywhere is between 350 and $400. So I feel like $200 was more than fair, very reasonable, and he didn't know what he had on his hands. So it's like, okay, whatever. But here it is. Cleveland Cavaliers, Zydrunas Ilgauskas. They only made these for a very short period of time because it was obviously during the time period early in his NBA career where he was very injured. And yeah, they did go into the V-neck style, like the following design, tight face, etc. But more of Zydrunas's NBA playing career came when they switched up to that like maroon, navy blue, gold era. So yeah, I was gonna say flash fire. Correct. If he doesn't know, it's not my problem. The bigger issue was getting the jersey, and it took a lot of work for him to actually mail it out. So thank God it showed up. Thank God I have my collection. So this is one, like I said, I never expected I was going to find. Woo! Can't wait to add that in. Logan Herrera says, can't believe you're taking advantage of Canadians like that. Hey, you know what? $200 on the exchange rate market is pretty savvy. I mean, that converted to like $270 Canadian or something like that. So I think he did pretty well. Figment says number 15 saved us yesterday. Did he? Did he? We'll get into that in a minute. But I'm going to start with something I rarely have talked about on Benchwarmers, and that is golf. And more specifically, a golf event that occurred this weekend that I wish to God I had the chance to go to because it looked like a drunken good time. And how drunken good of a good time was it? This is how good of a time it was. The Waste Management Open in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, it always coincides with the same weekend as the Super Bowl. Last weekend, or last Super Bowl, last January, February, whatever month it was, we were doing our Supermart event, so I wasn't able to attend the Waste Management Open. I was busy. I was working, blah, blah, blah. Liam Minnis in the house. What's up? But I don't know if this is a legit tweet. I went back through this account to try and find this, but even if it's fake, it's still hilarious. Basically, people got overserved at a golf event, and it, it reminded me heavily of Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. Um, when he's dealing with like all the crowd that's obviously come out to see Happy, and that's exactly the kind of environment that it was at the Waste Management Open this weekend. But yeah, for this tweet in particular, fake, real, whatever. It says we are cutting off alcohol sales for the remainder of the day, which did happen. And unfortunately, several fans don't have a clue what please drink responsibly means and somehow misconstrue that as meaning let's get shit faced. You could say we're managing idiots. Fantastic work there. Fantastic work. And how fantastic was it? I mean, this dude in particular took his shirt off, ran onto the court. 16, of course, being like the fan favorite in grandstand, etc. And just brilliant work. People are getting just sloshed. It was raining. They were going head first, like tobogganing down like all the little hills and stuff like that. It was a mess. Some of the golfers took umbrage with that and called out some of the fans, to which case they didn't care. They kept drinking, they kept having a good time. But somebody did actually win the event, and that was Nick Taylor. I don't know who he is. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna pretend like I do. But yeah, he's a golfer and he's a professional. So yeah. Southside Steve Wright, dead on. Good. God forbid people out there have fun. I mean, spectator sport. And I mean, as long as they're not like throwing shit at the golfers or any of the workers on the course, cool. Yell, have a good time. That's what it's all about. I feel like golf needs more people just randomly yelling drunkenly. I think we could all we'd all be happier people for that. So, Flashfire says, "How many holes would it take for them to cut you off there?" Probably 4, to be honest. Especially if I'm, like, going around the entire course and just, like, just drinking, drinking, drinking. One thing I definitely Lil Womp. Nobody knows who Nick Taylor is. Come on. Um, the cool thing about this is a lot of the employees from the Arrowhead store actually went to this event. And if you don't follow Chris Ruley, it's Fitness and Fitteds. Follow his Instagram account. He was definitely covering what was going on at the course throughout the weekend. And Chris definitely got overserved, as did some of his employees. So shout out to them. I wish I could have been there. Moving on into hockey, NHL. One team specifically, and that of course is my Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank God I didn't add this to my parlay bets this last week because the previous time I did, it paid off. I hate the Ottawa Senators. Um, But this was, of course, at the tail end of the game, 6.2 seconds left on the clock. Ridley Gregg, one of the frontmen for the Senators, uh, stole the puck. There was an open net because the Leafs were down by 1, trying to make a comeback, forced overtime, whatever. And Morgan Riley, specifically defenseman for the Maple Leafs, took umbrage in the aggressiveness that Ridley Gregg shot this puck into the net, to which case it would have been more hilarious if he would have missed, because firing it at full speed or full strength with about, I don't know, 10 feet of clearance or so is pretty outrageous. I mean, you can easily just kind of tap it in, which, the Leafs kind of felt like was going to be the case. So what does Morgan Riley do? He cross checks that motherfucker in the face into the boards. So people already hate the Toronto Maple Leafs enough. Like, they equate it to the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox level, just because the fact that they're big spenders. They have a long legacy, a long history within the NHL. Of course, they're one of the original 6. But there's also the reality that the Leafs haven't won anything since 1967. Like, I'm a lifelong Leafs fan since like the early because this goes back to when in the conference finals, when it had a different name. This is back when things were named, not Western, Eastern Division, blah, blah, blah. Maple Leafs versus LA Kings, back when Gretzky was on the Kings. I particularly was not a huge fan of Gretzky, so that's how I kind of became a Maple Leafs fan. So I love this personally, but I can understand why people do not. Um, so it just goes into the long-standing hatred that a lot of people of fan bases that are not the Toronto Maple Leafs hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there you go. Morgan Riley, of course, is probably going to get a pretty stiff suspension out of this. I would say at least 3 games. Whatever. English Premier League that happened over the weekend. I'll hammer through these really quick because there was a big game today. Shout out to Connor Gallagher, former Crystal Palace. Love it. Man City, of course, took down Everton 2-0. Wolverhampton, having beaten Chelsea 4-2 the previous weekend, could not muster a goal against Brentford. Soccer makes no goddamn sense. So 3 points for Brentford. Tottenham, 2-1 victory over Brighton. Big, big win for them. It'll be more meaningful once I get to the standings here in a sec. Liverpool over Burnley. That was one of my parlay picks this week. Nailed that one. Luton Town drops to Sheffield United. Sheffield United, of course, the worst team in the Premier League. Luton Town still out of the relegation zone by a point. Should have gotten that win, which is also kind of surprising considering Luton Town put 4 goals up last weekend themselves, but only could muster 1 this last weekend. Arsenal, big dogging West Ham. How it rolls sometimes. Aston Villa losing to Manchester United 2-1. Big, big loss for them. Huge loss. And of course, Chelsea, Conor Gallagher, 2 goals today against his former club. Um, 2 goals, of course, icing the game off in stoppage time. Glad I got to sit down and watch that. Actually, it's only like the 3rd Chelsea game I've been able to watch this season, so came out at a good time. It started at noon, West Coast time, and I was a little pissy throughout most of the game, considering the fact that Crystal Palace scored first. Gallagher, of course, getting his first goal of the game early in the second half, so thank God. But it was definitely a game where Chelsea should have won, and thank God they actually did. So some good breakaway. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Counter strikes. Counter strikes. But anyway, here is the table: Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, top 3. Tottenham, Aston Villa switching places because Tottenham wins, Aston Villa loses. Too bad, so sad. Man United, Newcastle, West Ham, Brighton, Chelsea back in the top 10 with that win, which pushes Wolverhampton down to 11, followed by Fulham, Bournemouth, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Luton Town, like I said, sitting in the 17th spot out of the relegation zone, but Everton, Burnley, Sheffield United still in the relegation spot. Plenty of time to go. We still got about 14 games for things to kind of shake up there. Arsenal had a very fun time. I, for one, am not a fan of Arsenal because I'm a Chelsea guy. That is a derby. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Tone Cruz, what's going on, brother? But I know Southside Steven C. Right. NBA trade. What was that, Thursday? A lot of additions, a lot of subtractions going on around the league. I'll hammer through these pretty quick. PJ Washington, who was supposed to be on recap last year, or I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. But he kind of flaked out both times. It's cool. The man was going through some shit at the time, uh, because of his ex, blah blah blah. But still a nice guy. Like, he apologized and everything like that. But whatever. Would have been nice to have him on the show. But PJ Washington going to the Mavericks and made an immediate impact. Grant Williams, and Seth Curry, of course, going to Charlotte, which is cool in regard to Seth Curry going to Charlotte because he gets to rock number 30, just like his dad. Um, Good wholesome entertainment right there. Moving on into 76ers getting Buddy Hield. I had said weeks ago the Pacers were still shopping Buddy Hield around. They were trying to move him during the offseason, if not trying to restructure a long-term deal. He didn't want it. So, of course, the Pacers were trying to move him. So now he's going to the 76ers. And the big name out of this, because Furkan Korkmaz actually got waived by the Pacers, but Doug McDermott, Dougie McBuckets, back on the Pacers because it was part of a 3-team deal. Marcus Morris, of course, going to the Spurs. A lot of cash considerations and draft picks moving around in the process of that. All second rounders, of course. Royce O'Neal and David Roddy going to the Suns. Grizzlies getting Chimizie Metu and I don't know why I couldn't get that one up. And then, of course, Jordan Goodwin. More draft picks moving around as well. A lot of second round picks. Gordon Hayward. What happened to that guy? He's going to the Oklahoma City Thunder, Oklahoma City Zombie Sonics, more specifically. Hornets getting a mess of players as a result of that, plus some more second round draft picks. So the Hornets are going to be pretty locked in with the second round for the next couple of years. Bojan Bogdanovic going to the Knicks. Smart move there. Pistons getting Evan Fournier, Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan RC. I screwed this one up last week because he's the dude that played 20 straight games without getting a point. Ryan Arcidiacono. God damn it. No. Arcidiacono. There we go. Ryan Arcidiacono. Boom. And some future second round picks. There we go. Nets getting Dennis Schrader and King Thade, aka Thaddeus Young, former Indiana Pacers. Raptors getting Spencer Dinwiddie, but of course they're waiving him, or they did waive him. Now he's going to the Lakers. Crazy bit of business there. Patrick Beverly going to the Bucks in exchange for Cameron Payne and a second round pick. Kind of crazy in regard to the game that I went to against the Jazz. What was that? The previous weekend. Campaign, of course, wasn't much of a factor. So, but the Bucks need defense, so I understand the Pat Beverly move. Dame Lillard, of course, not happy about it. Um, Anytime you dish an odd move, but it's a good acquisition by the Kings as long as they hang on to him, which I feel like they will. Kelly Olynyk, of course, going to the Raptors. Otto Porter Jr. and Kira Lewis Jr. going to the Jazz. And then the Pacers also getting the return of Corey Joseph from the Warriors. I don't know how to feel about that because it's like Pacers are just basically addition by subtraction in a sense, because Corey Joseph and Dougie McBuckets, of course, former Pacers, but during like a good time frame of Pacers. So I'm actually okay with it. Hits me right in the feels. But here's your of possibly getting into the top four. There's two. Bucks still fading at the number 3 spot. Knicks 76ers in the 4 and 5, Magic 7, Heat 8, Bulls 9, Hawks 10. And whether or not the Nets are gonna, make a strike or whatever, of course they made some moves, but doesn't seem like they really want to. So they're probably gonna miss the play-in tournament. Over the last couple of days, the Clippers and the Timberwolves switched spots. Clippers were the 1 seed for a short period of time. Timberwolves got it back, but the Clippers and Timberwolves play this week for the top seed supremacy. Zombie Sonics in 3, Nuggets 4, Suns in the 5th seed, Pelicans 6. Kings fall a little bit to 7, but it's still, half game, whatever, can make some changes there. Mavericks 8, Lakers back into the top 10 with the 9 spot, and the Warriors sitting at the 10. Booyah. Logan Hurst says former Pacers turned Spurs. I guess turn back to Pacers for immaculate grid. Yeah, drafted by the Pacers and obviously around the league now in the Clippers. But God, I wish Larry Bird would have held on to him. But that's not to say it was a bad trade because Pacers got George Hill out of the deal, and George Hill balled out for the Pacers. Like he was a really established point guard that the Pacers needed. But unfortunately, they could not beat LeBron James in the playoffs. So that sucked. They waived Joseph. God damn it. I'm not surprised by that. I mean, they didn't necessarily need him. It was just really just like a salary cap dump in a sense. So poor guy. He'll get picked up somewhere. But yes, the Bucks are in shambles. All right. Super Bowl. Superb owl. Thoughts. First thought is what the fuck, Niners? And I know Flashfire, you're thinking the exact same thing right now, but what the fuck? The Niners had so many goddamn opportunities to put this game away early. Early. Like first drive of the game early. And of all the people in the world who completely screw that up, I don't think anybody thought it was going to be Christian McCaffrey fumbling the ball like on the 20-yard line of the Chiefs. Like that is insane. And I mean they were driving just run, pass, run, just first down after first down. The Chiefs had zero answer until that little punch out for a fumble and then of course Chiefs recover. But even at that, like the Niners defense in the first half of the game was staunch. And I mean, so many goddamn 3 and outs to the point where, this goes back to when Austin and I played Flip the Script this last week. And the Chiefs kicker came out, and I'm like, who the hell is that guy? And it was the same circumstance for this game, especially in the first quarter, and for the most part, most of the second quarter for the Chiefs, where it's like, who is this guy? Who is this long haired freak that's going out there and kicking balls for the Chiefs? Because they usually never kick unless it's a field goal. The Chiefs are always typically automatic to at least get beyond the 50-yard line. And the fact that the Niners were able to stifle them as quickly and as often as they did in the first half, um, it was mind-boggling that the Niner offense could not put up more points. And that's not completely against Brock Purdy. I know a lot of people want to shit on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy actually had a pretty solid game. Like yardage wise, completion percentage was pretty decent. I think he had like a 90 quarterback rating. One touchdown pass, which of course went to Juwan Jennings. But we'll kind of go more detail about that here in a sec. But yeah, Flashfire, you're 100% correct. Brock Purdy did not cost the Niners the game. I would argue that Christian McCaffrey did. Jake Moody certainly did, even though we're talking about an extra point, just a PAT, but that had huge implications for the rest of the game, especially for the fact that the game went in overtime. And some of the defensive play calling in the second half was just highly questionable. And so, anyway, I'll try to go through as chronologically as I possibly can. I mean, you can't say Greenlaw did some BS. The man tore his Achilles tendon. He had no control over that. And he was just running back onto the field for a defensive series. Like, you can't blame the guy for that. What the fuck? That's so mean. But anyway, game, of course, didn't really start until the second quarter because we had donuts at the end of the first, which that was shocking for his two high-powered offenses that we had on the field. I know people bet on the first quarter score to go 0-0, but not a lot of people did. Let's be real about that. Dude, he was sprinting out on the field because he was fired up to go smash some heads. You can't fault the guy for that. My God. But Jake Moody, of course, putting the first points on the board, 3-0 in the second quarter with a 55-yard field goal, which at that moment was a record kick for a field goal in the Super Bowl, the longest ever. To which case, I don't think anybody expected that record to get broken before the end of the first half, which is pretty hilarious and surprising. But anyway, those were the first points. And then, of course, this beautiful play here, which probably would have been the first move to get Jawan Jennings the Super Bowl MVP had they won. Um, but more importantly, this particular play had no reason to be a success that it was. Because, I mean, Jawan Jennings was hanging that ball for a goddamn long period of time. Now, when you look back on it, it made sense because the fact that he was trying to draw the defense toward him, which was going to open up the opposite end of the side of the field, which allowed Christian McCaffrey to catch the ball. Yes, CMC totally saved it. And I'd also argue that Greg Kittle also saved it because he's the one that threw the block on a Nick Bolton, because if he didn't throw that block, that thing was getting pick sixed big time. And Niners successful. Christian McCaffrey catches it, runs that extra, 18, 20 yards or so. Amazing block for a touchdown. The first touchdown of the game. Niners up 10-0 at this point. Niners are looking pretty good. To which case the Chiefs come back, of course, toward the end of the second quarter, kick a field goal. That happens to be the 57-yarder by Harrison Butker to then take over Jake Moody's record. And at halftime, we got a 10-3 score. Okay, no big deal. At least the Niners are still up by a touchdown. And then we get Usher. In which case, I will say Usher, it was good. Not hating on it. The man was very sweaty. The rest of the night and to but overall it was a decent show. So anyway, moving on, where we at? Second half. Brock Purdy starts slanging the rock. For whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan goes to a primarily pass-heavy offense, which kind of didn't make much sense. Yeah, shortest Super Bowl record ever held by Jake Moody. Brock Purdy, of course, driving the field, getting down, getting a touchdown. Awesome. Puts the Niners up by a bit more. This, of course, happened after another Harrison Butker field goal to make it 10-6. So at this point, 17-6 49ers. So Jawan Jennings, second player in NFL history to throw for a touchdown pass and catch a touchdown pass. Last person being, of course, Nick Foles for the Philadelphia Eagles. But hey, Harrison Butker was hot. The Chiefs didn't need to necessarily score a lot of touchdowns because Harrison Butker's leg was doing all the work. 4 field goals, including the 57-yarder for the Super Bowl record, and an extra point, which came a little bit later in the game. So 13 points scored for Harrison Butker. Let's keep that in mind. I'm still upset about that. The one thing I will say is I had these out of order, so that's my apologies there. Uh, the Jawan Jennings touchdown that he caught and ran in for, this is the problem zone because, of course, Jake Moody missed that extra point, which hugely it could have impacted the rest of the game had he made it. Now, the one thing about Jake Moody, I'm not going to hang entire blame on him. It was just this one particular play. The man hit 3 field goals, 2 of which were over 50 yards, one of which was from 27 out. So, the Niners should have scored a goddamn can't hang that on him. So, because Moody got in there and did his thing and scored the 3 points. But to which case, the fact that so many defensive lapses occurred, and especially with the Chiefs' first series with the ball in overtime, like to which case, historically, in which case, Pat Mahomes typically always runs to the right, and how the defense did not have a spy, just eyes locked on Mahomes the entire time. Yeah, Travis Kelsey threw in an amazing block, to allow Mahomes to get in for that first down. But at the same time, there was no other defender over there that could have gone in there and made the tackle. What the fuck? Defense up to the Super Bowl had only allowed one touchdown in the second half. Significant. Excuse me. Very significant because obviously they allowed the one and they iced the Niners for the rest of the game. So going in, Chiefs get the ball, continue to march, continue to march, continue to march. And then there's this. McCall Hardman, former New York Jet, who was acquired via waivers from the Chiefs, scores the game-winning touchdown. Final score 25-22. What the fuck? Um, and I mean, he was wide goddamn open to the point, and especially with the new overtime rules, which which were fine, except for the part at the end, like setting up this play. And this is why, in my opinion, it was like super anticlimactic because I was too busy focusing on what Tony Romo was talking about of how, you know, time can expire and they'll go essentially to another period of overtime. And that was super confusing because I figure like, okay, overtime is going to stay within the same time frame, time zone, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, I figured the Chiefs are going to go out there and kick a field goal to tie it and force the extra bit of overtime, much in the same sense. But it's like apparently, so Tony Romo talking about this, it's like, oh, this is only like a first quarter scenario, whatever. I was just like just trying to wrap my head around that because thinking like, okay, well, so if they don't score, is it like extra time? So even if they score here, like we're gonna keep going, kind of a scenario, or they have to score a touchdown and that's gonna end. And of course, that's exactly what happened. So yeah, Tone Cruz, like it all makes sense now. But the fact that Tony Romo trying to explain all of that and just confusing everybody while this play was going on, and that's why it's just like it just happened, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs win, and I'm just like, oh, well, shit. I feel like I missed the whole thing, despite the fact that my eyes were on it. But as far as like the fact that that play would have had was just like, yeah, as I say, Tom Cruise perfectly. Essentially, game can never end until someone wins. And Liam Enos, yeah, I was gonna say it just happened. And I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're stoked, but it's like from an outside perspective, whether you have a horse in the race or not, it's just like it just happened, and it's just like, oh, the game's over. Everybody's cheering, like, oh, yay, okay, whatever. But Tony Romo completely screwed that whole thing up. I feel like mentally for everybody. So there it is, back to back Super Bowls, first time it's been happened or done since the last time the Pats did it. Explanation for the Swifties, 100% Tone. uh, excuse me. The one moment in the game that, of course, I didn't talk about, and 0304, thank you, Logan. I couldn't remember the years. I forgot to write them down. I didn't talk about this moment yet, which, of course, people adding in. It is, of course, the meme from the Super Bowl. Um, But the fact when this happened, and of course, they replayed it after a commercial break, etc., and we kind of get full context of what's going on. And somebody tweeted out, which I thought was perfect. If this was Travis Kelsey doing this to Bill Belichick, Belichick not only would have benched Kelsey's ass immediately after doing it, but Belichick would have lost the game just to prove a point. And I feel like in that regard, like Andy Reid's a bit of a coward, but obviously it paid off in the end. Don't know what the argument was necessarily about, other than having him in for a play, out for a play, whatever, or a different play should have run. I guess Kelsey would then apologize to everybody, like not too long after that, realizing the impact that it had, and especially when you get caught on camera doing this. Um, like I get it. It's the championship game, emotions are running high, etc. But at the same time, it's like for a player to just chew out the coach, the head coach, in front of everybody, in front of the world, the biggest sporting event of the year, or at least for football's sake. I mean, let's be real. NASCAR actually pulls better numbers a lot of times in the Super Bowl. Sort of. It's more complex than me just saying that. World Cup pulls some amazing numbers, etc. Um, yes, Tone Cruz, thank you. He wanted in on the Pacheco fumble play because yeah, Isaiah Pacheco, fuck man, that dude almost lost the game for the Chiefs multiple times on every single one of those instances. But you cannot do this to your coach. I mean, especially with a multiple Super Bowl winning coach, and probably one of the greatest offensive minds the game has ever seen. And it's like, yeah, cool. You weren't in for one play. Pacheco fumbled the ball. You all got the ball back. You ended up having to punt, but it's just like, so the fuck what, man? You still got a lot of game left. You cannot do this to your coach. You cannot de-ball, aka emasculate your coach in front of a national TV audience during the Super Bowl. Like you can't do that. And so I don't know if there's like any kind of punishment that's coming later. Probably not, because they won and they're all partying, etc. But the fact that nothing happened to Kelsey essentially, like after this happened, that's mind blowing. So Liamina saying, as a big fan of Kelsey as I am, that was whack as fuck. 100%. And yes, that's how everybody was going it. As Tone Cruz says, my girl's here. Put me in, coach. Hilarious. Hilarious. So anyway, that's it, man. 25-22, Chiefs win the Super Bowl. But going back to Harrison Butker, I'm gonna go back in the frames on the photo just because I really got to emphasize this point. Um, the man accounted for more than half of the team's points, not to mention that 57-yard Super Bowl record field goal. So yeah, four field goals and an extra point, 13 points. And the crazier part about it is in the post-game interviews with all the players, not a single mention of who the Super Bowl MVP was. Um, they ended up giving to Patrick Mahomes like after the fact, like it was just a non-issue. Oh, like here you go, but like no trophy presentation, no announcement whatsoever until they went like off the air. Um, Travis Kelsey giving like one of the more confusing speeches I've ever heard, just a lot of yelling and singing songs and stuff like that. Horrible Elvis impersonation. I gotta throw there. I will say that Jason is a much better public speaker than Travis, especially in a victory circumstance and especially under the influence of alcohol. I would have rather heard that man talk. But yeah, okay, Flashfire says, I thought they said something about three-time MVP when they gave Mahomes the Lombardi, but I could be wrong. You might be right about that. Because I feel like I went back to listen to it like after the fact because my wife got home from work and ended up watching the entire Super Bowl all over again. And that's what I was kind of curious about. But even she doesn't recall like hearing anything about that. To which case it's like, yeah, okay, he led the drives, etc. He also threw an interception. Um, Harrison Butker didn't turn the ball over. Harrison Butker just went out there and put points on the board. So yeah, you have the circumstance of this guy accumulating more than half your team's points. And the reason I bring this up, oh, there's Usher. I put it out of order, of course. Is because of this tweet right here. If you guys didn't see this on the Hack Club account. So this dude hit me up after I made the point of like, how Harrison Butker basically got boned for the MVP. But this dude in particular, Connor Welsh, more specifically, threw $25 at plus 49,000 for Harrison Butker to be the Super Bowl MVP, which would have netted him 12,250 bucks. That's fucking crazy. That just, yep, casually, here you go, Mahomes, whatever. Like after the fact, just nobody's like really being critical about this. Mahomes didn't deserve the MVP. Yeah, he was a leader out there for the offense, but at the same time, it's like Butker's the one out there putting up all the points. So I feel like Butker got boned. I feel like this guy got boned royally. And yeah, I mean, the fact the game was in Vegas, etc. The house is always going to win, as everybody's talking about in the comments right now. So that's insane. That is fucking insane. To which case, I got a question for you guys. Who's got it worse right now? Niners, because now they've lost twice to the Chiefs, but they're on a 3 Super Bowl losing streak, despite going 5-0 to start with in the first place. Or are the Raiders worse because the Chiefs just went to their house, division rival, and won a Super Bowl in their house? Who's got it worse? Lehman says Cowboys. That's not a correct answer. God damn it. Tone Crew says Niners. Flashfire, where you at? No, I can't screw the Cowboys in this question. No, okay. David Kern says definitely Niners. All right, interesting. Modern day Bills. That's a savvy take right there. Flashfire says worse for Niners. At least they were close to winning. I agree with that. Both times the Chiefs, they were close. And Flashfire says Raiders are irrelevant for this, but they're not because it's their house. And like, I get it. The Super Bowl is it moves every year, whatever. But the game. Believe me, this now says Sally is a Seahawks fan. The Niners won't get set back much. I bet. I agree with that. I mean, Purdy's going to come at a hefty cost now. The real question is whether or not they're going to hang on to Trent Williams because he's getting older. They're going to be without Greenlaw potentially all of next season, if not the majority of next season. That's a big move. But the Niners have always been pretty solid at like replacing pieces. Like John Lynch knows exactly what he's doing. So I have 100% faith in him, despite not being a fan of the team. Flashfire says it'd be 100 times worse if a team hosting the Super Bowl also played in it and lost there. Like, I get that. But how often does that actually happen? Rarely. Like I know the Rams did it with SoFi a couple years ago, but before that, I mean, there was like a good stretch of time. And especially for like any team that plays west of or east of Nevada, with the exception of if you're in a dome, they're not going to host it, obviously. Or yeah, Raymond James saying, yeah, that's right. The Buccaneers did it. Fuck yeah, they did. But I mean, that was was the Super Bowl always going to be there? Or was that a COVID decision? That's what I can't remember right now. Because I feel like that was more of a COVID decision than the game was actually going to be at Raymond James Stadium. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's why it's like, to me, I don't consider it because it was just a neutral ground essentially, but it's like I get it at the same time. So you guys are correct. Like the Buccaneers did win in Raymond James. Yeah, I'll go back and double check that afterward. Anyway, so I feel bad for this guy. That's the short of it. Uh, God damn it, Niners. But yeah, Jawan Jennings. I would actually argue like Jawan Jennings was probably going to win the MVP if the Niners won. I would also throw in Eric Armstead, and I mean, I'm being biased partly because, yeah, we're both Ducks, but at the same time, for anybody on the defensive line, I feel like our Eric Armstead balled his ass off. Like, he really kept Pacheco at bay. He had, what, 2 sacks on Mahomes? Actually, one of them, I think it was 1 sack, but anytime that Mahomes tried to run, typically, he was there to stop it. So I think from a defensive perspective, he was probably the best defender out there. But who the hell, like, when are they going to give the MVP to a defensive player? They're just straight up not. So it's not how this league works anymore. Flashfire says, I still think it's worse for a division rival to win in your stadium using your home locker room. The Raiders still have Bay Area fans, but they ain't even there now. Yeah, no, I get that. It 6.5 one dozen or the other. Oh, that's right, Logan. You're right, Logan Herrera. I forgot about Von Miller winning in Super Bowl 50. There we go. Nice. Totally forgot about that. Well, I mean, hey, Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara this next season, so we'll see, Niners. We will see. You better get back. Who won? Wait, what was Super Bowl 49? Because Von Miller was Super Bowl 50. Who won it for 49? Malcolm Butler. That's right. Okay. Thank you. Wait, Super Bowl is in New Orleans. Oh, my bad. My bad. The following season. Yes, the 2025 season. Thank you. Is Santa Clara. My bad. Oh, Toad Cruz calling Broncos Lions Super Bowl. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Moving on. Commercials. This was my top 10. Some of you guys will probably agree with some of these picks, but some of them probably not so much. I did not include any of the movie trailers because I feel like the only one that actually had a full trailer was Wicked. To which case, yeah, it was decent, but at the same time, it's whatever. And I'm not criticizing Wicked or anything like that. I just feel like it's the same churn of musicals and movies over and over, especially the way they shot, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, but overall, I think the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Tom Brady, Jennifer Lopez, Dunkin' Donuts, the Dunk Kings was number one. Sarah V with Michael Cera, definitely my number two. It was holding the number one spot until Dunkin' Donuts came along. So there's that. The one I left off the list, which I thought was really good because it was definitely in its own category, is the Google Pixel. Because it doesn't entertain me. It just gives me that's in its own category. That's a number one there. But Aubrey Plaza for the Mountain Dew Blast, and especially with oh, what's his nuts coming back out? Ron Swanson. I can't think of the actor's name right now. Nick Offerman. That's my number three. It's a Nation. That's my number four. The M&M's Almost Champions, I thought was pretty solid. And shout out to Dan Marino's agent. Not only getting him in the M&M's ad, but got him in the Michelob Ultra with Lionel Messi and Jason Sudeikis ad. Dude, Marino still just raking in the cash, baby. The Reese's Caramel Big Cup commercial at number 6. I was laughing my ass off. I love just unnecessary destruction within my commercials. It had a very Tim and Eric feel to it, so that's why I threw it up there. Bud Light Genie at number 7. I feel like I moved it a little bit too high. I thought it was clever. Doritos Dinamita, number 8. It was decent. Tina Fey's Booking.com commercial number 9. The Kawasaki with Stone Cold Steve Austin there. I feel like it needed more Stone Cold, but I applaud the business in front, party in the back mullet aspect of things. Chris Pratt's Pringles, I threw in at number 11. And then only because they threw Neil Diamond songs or a Neil Diamond song in there, I got Volkswagen at number 12. Hell no, no RFK Jr. fucking dude, that thing was weird as hell. Weird as hell. No, I was gonna say overall, the commercials were not that spectacular this year. Like, I feel like, especially because this goes back to the movie trailer thing. Because like, I feel like if they would just thrown like the Deadpool and Wolverine full trailer on there, that would have been money. But at the same time, it's like all these, you know, studios and stuff are saving money by just like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw the trailer online, but here's like a short ad just to say, hey, it's online right now. That's it. Because when you're, dropping 7 million bucks for an ad, I of course didn't have the foot fetish ad in my top because I think only Rex Ryan would have dug that one. Oh my god. So anyway, hopefully they're better next year. Cause yeah, they were for the most part, they were kind of weak. Ben's picks for this last week. I went 2-2. Better than continuing my offer. Because I went 0-8 the last 2 weeks. So back in somewhat of a win column, I guess. I of course had the 49ers beating the Chiefs. That did not happen. God damn it. But the Pacers did beat the Rockets. That was a comeback win for them. Liverpool took down Burnley. Thank God for that. Oilers did not beat the Kings. The Kings won 4-0. What the fuck? That was like a slam dunk of a pick earlier this year when I picked them. So I would have figured, hey, you guys will do it again. So anyway. Oh, 316, you mean? Yeah, okay. Thanks, pal. Anyway, so here's my lot. Here's my picks for this week. I've got the West over the East in the NBA All-Star game this weekend. To which case I'm not going. I was originally going to because I had tickets for the slam dunk, 3-point, etc. But my round trip tickets and a hotel would have cost me like over $1,000. So it's like F that. And I thought I was gonna eat this ticket because I think I paid like 80 tickets to the all. But thankfully I was able to sell my festivities night ticket. So I actually made it 27 bucks off the whole process. Woo! Just going toward Jersey money, baby. So I've got West over the East in the All-Star game. That is my lock of the week. Uh I've got the Clippers over the Timberwolves to get back into first place. That is tonight. Tomorrow, college basketball. I've got Baylor taking down Oklahoma. Big, big, big Big 12 rivalry right there. And then this weekend, I'm going ballsy and I'm going Chelsea versus Man City in a draw. Might be 2-2, might be 1-1, might be 4-4. You never know, but I feel like it's going to be a draw. Splitting those points, baby. Um, to which case, in that route. Is it for the foes? I thought I had one more, but that's going to be about it. And hey, 6 minutes early. Why not? Flashfire says lots of bets are slam dunks until we make them. I agree with that. Because if I would have been throwing some bets over the Super Bowl this weekend, it would have been disastrous. Disastrous. Because I mean, already out the gate, the fact that I had picked the Niners over the Chiefs, it's like, well, no matter how good any of my other bets would have done, it would have been torpedo sunk with the end of that game. So F that. Blah. Um, I think a lot of people needed a Kelsey touchdown, and it's kind of surprising that he didn't get one. But he had what 93 yards receiving the game, 92 of which came in the second half. That's wild. Yeah, there was somebody else who would have gotten like 300 bucks. I saw this on Twitter where it's like all oh, Debo needed 15 more yards and I think a touchdown. But I think for sure 15 more yards. And he would have gotten like $300 out of it. Oh, Steven, thank you. That was that was an amazing thing to wake up to this week or this morning. Marshawn Lynch going through Vegas. I don't know which hotel that was, or which casino it was. Kind of looked like Resorts World, but also looked like the Venetian. Anyway, of just going up to Niners fans and basically just saying, "Oh, fuck you." I mean, that man is Oakland through and through, and I applaud them that he maintains the heel character for the Bay Area. Best of AZ had Pacheco first touchdown. That's a rough one. Um, Hell, I know the bet for passing touchdown by anybody other than the quarterback, like, netted a lot of people money on that one. Flashfire says, "We had a $125 group bet among 5 of us for Purdy and Mahomes to get us over 12.5 and 24.5 rushing and a Pacheco and CMC touchdown. Would have paid about $1,250. Of course, Pacheco didn't get it, and Purdy's kneel down to go to overtime dropped him to 12. No! That son of a bitch. Tone Cruz. Oh yeah, plus 3,500 for the Jennings pass. Incredible. Flashfire said he did get CMC for first touchdown. I mean, like, let's be real. Like, he should have had that in the first quarter. So, but that goddamn fumble, that goddamn fumble. But hey, you still got it. Flashfire says Pacheco got that last touchdown, we'd have been hurting. Yeah, you would have. Oh my god. But no, McCole Hardman, final touchdown of the game. Out of nowhere, like an RKO. Oh my god. Um, I don't know if Austin is going to join us for Flip the Script tomorrow or not, because he took today off and he's taking tomorrow off as well. So I don't know if playing video games is going to, be considered work for him. But either way, the crazy part is if he is back or if he does come back for Flip the Script tomorrow, it's going to be Niners versus Chiefs again, which we already knew, but it's going to be me as the Niners, him as the Chiefs again, because I got to try and flip the script. So I don't know how great that's going to be, especially based on how things went this last week. 11 fucking interceptions. I cannot believe I did that. Anyway. Oh, Steven says XFL starting back up, covering that, right? Oh, you mean the UFL? Because remember, it's the USFL and the XFL merger, baby. UFL. I don't know, man. I'll give it 2 weeks and see what happens with that. Like, I know there is some fan support for it. I don't know. It's hard to take it serious as a league, especially just based on its roots. It just everything's weird. But thankfully, The Rock bought all the rights from Vince McMahon when he did, because if Vince McMahon was still if Vince McMahon was still in charge of the XFL, oh my god, disaster, especially with all his legal stuff going on right now. That man pulled the ripcord in the right point in time, and The Rock just picked up the fumble, baby. Flashfire says, then you saw that 16 leg parlay that ended after the first quarter and no point scored. Dude, that was hilarious. But I mean, at the same time, like, I would not have expected the end of the first quarter being donuts. Like, that made zero sense. So I don't know. Anyway, that's it. We filled the hour. Oh my god, I'm amazed. Guys, I will see you tomorrow, of course, for Flip the Script. Hopefully, we got Austin on, because the shit talking that goes along with it is half the fun right there. Um, and it's like I don't want to play the computer again and just get mollywopped like 55-0 before I put some points on the board. So we'll see what happens there. But guys, always love chatting with you, love chatting sports. Hopefully, we can continue this for the long run. There's a good chance that we might have to just like reduce it to like twice a month or something. I don't know. We need some more viewership numbers. That's really what it comes down to. I'm getting killed here. I'm getting yelled at. But no, Flip the Script actually always does pretty well. So I'm glad you guys tune in for that. Recap, of course, the flagship still doing well. I know for recap this week, we don't have like a ton of hats to talk about. It's a lot of variety packs over the next week. However, the final the final recap of February. Not that's technically not true. I will just say next week's recap is going to be fucking bananas because there are three major drops happening. One of which is happening on a Wednesday. I don't know why they're not moving that to a Thursday, but anyway. So there's going to be three collections that we're going to talk about next week on recap. This week it's going to be one and just a lot of variety packs. So it should still be good. But yeah, next week I'm like super fired up about. And most importantly, the bigger thing with that is I personally am not going to have any of the hats physically in hand because I'm going to Vegas like as soon as we wrap up the show. To which case, I think we're also going to be starting recap like an hour early to accommodate that because I still have to save and upload and blah blah blah. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up for next week. Um, but we're going to send all the hats to Furry with the exception of Austin's pack, the master pack. He is going to be showing those ones off because he has them all physically in hand right now. So I will have nothing. I'll just be on the outside, just throwing in some witty comments and stuff like that. But yeah, not this Wednesday, the next Wednesday. Yeah, we're gonna have like three major collections. So next Wednesday is definitely the show you want to tune in for, 100%. Um, I love Tef. Like, I love him to death. And I get what you're saying. It's like it is nothing personal against Bree. Bree was awesome. But Bree, if you guys have not been following her, like she's doing bigger and better things right now, and I couldn't be happier for her. And it just literally came down to, Tef had the open availability to do the show every Wednesday. Bree's availability was kind of iffy, but it's like, you know what? She's moving up with Complex, and that's what we want for her. Like we're stoked for her, and so it's gonna be good when we actually are able to get her back on. Actually, you know what? Shit, we do have a good show this week, and I wasn't downplaying or anything like that. I gotta talk to Wilder because we gotta have Wilder on the show this week. Um, I'm gonna hit him up as soon as I stop recording. So, oh, Southside said, is it called Master Pack because it was originally called the Eliminator Pack? I don't know I don't know what the official name is, to be honest. I think Austin knows that one for sure. So, Liamina says, don't think I'll make the Vegas. By the way, another time for sure. Well, you're a jerk. It's okay. Um, David Kearns, I'm still curious. I got to ask you, man, are you coming to Vegas March 13 through 16 or 18, however long Steve and I are going to be there for? That's still open, everybody. Like, all we're going to do is watch. Oh, apparently, actually, because they have the Whataburger there now, Steve and I are going to be crushing Whataburger, probably night one. And then we're going to be watching a shitload of college basketball. Lima says, "Bro, it's pricey, and I already got a vacation for spring break planned." Dude, it's cool, man. I'm just giving you crap. Like, I agree. We we plotted this out early enough, and especially like based on where I live and all the comps that we have, like it was affordable for me because of the fact that it's just like I think we're only paying for one night, like the entire stretch that we're there. Because my wife had just comps for like every single night except one. So I think like hotel bill wise, it's gonna cost like $150, which is insane. For how many days is that? 6? Wait, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, 6. 6 days we're gonna be there. $150. And we're staying at the MGM Grand. I would have preferred personally to stay at Park MGM. I love that hotel casino. However, I'm pretty positive because we didn't have any comp dates for that or New York, New York. And I think that was done strategically because of the Pac-12 tournament taking place at T-Mobile, both hotels are like right next to T-Mobile. So I'm sure all the teams are staying there. So it's fine. Flashfire says Park MGM where I hit $1,000 on a single $10 slot spin. Fuck, man, I want to do that. I want to get one hand pay in my life, preferably either next week or in March. It's sometime. Um, and Steven says we're just gonna end up staying there forever. I agree, man. I don't know why I haven't moved to Vegas. I know why I haven't moved to Vegas, but I would be a degenerate gambler if I did. So financially, I can't do that. Like it would, like we could get a house, like that's for damn sure. But my wife loves the Bay Area. She's very established here work wise. My wife makes a hell of a lot more money than I do, so I have like no say in this decision, and I'm okay with that. Like I know there are some dudes out there that are like super fucking emasculated by that, but it's just like, dude, I don't give a fuck. My wife makes a shit ton of money. Like I don't care. I'm getting taken care of. I don't mean that. I don't mean it like that. I'm being funny. No, she works her ass off, so she definitely deserves it. She's a fucking doctor. I mean, God, of course she's making more money than me. Um, Flashfire says, "You mean she make more money in the medical field than you do slanging hats?" Of course, man. Steven Sierra says, "I love my wife making twice what I make." See, we're both in the same boat. Like medical field, baby. That's called out kicking your coverage, baby. Oh man. All right. I think that's enough. But no, dude, I'm looking forward to all the shenanigans we get up to in Vegas, and I'm gonna have to like put some videos together and stuff like that. There's a couple slot machines there that like have hat themes to them that I plan on, playing and getting some recorded action and stuff like that. Because I mean, our guys want me to do more TikToks and stuff, and let's be real, who wants to watch a TikTok with my face on it? But I'll make it entertaining. So, guys, see you tomorrow for Flip the Script. Hopefully the Niners win this time. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best. But anyway, as always, yep, hold on to your hat. That's it. Take it easy, and if you don't, take it sleazy. Liam Menas, funny you mentioned that. Funny you mentioned that. To be continued. Uh, Guys, take care. Peace.